Some professors write about sustainability, some fly around the world helping governments with climate finance. And then there is our today's guest, who somehow does both, publishes research faster than most people answer the emails, and still remembers his students' names, right? So he has worked with banks, figuring out how to go green, turn tax theory into real policy, and somehow made finance feel, not boring. So welcome to another episode of Schools to Startup, where we explore how leading academics are shaping the future of entrepreneurship and innovation. Today, we are joined by Professor Tapan Sarkar. Professor Tapan, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. It's good to be with you.
Great. So let's start at the beginning, right? What pulled you into academia? Was that always the plan or more of a detour?
I always liked to be in this, sharing knowledge and searching for knowledge. My father was a teacher who was sadly killed before I was born, and I thought I should also follow his footsteps to really in this beautiful area, which is learning and teaching. But for more importantly, I really like meeting people, meeting new students, and helping them to grow and helping them achieve their goals. And that's very much satisfying to me and kept me in this industry.
Great. I'm really sorry to hear about your father. And now that you are here, what kind of work are you excited about right now? Any cool projects or research keeping you up at night?
Sure. We are at this moment facing some challenges, global challenges. It's a huge geopolitical shift. We are facing challenges in terms of energy transition. We are facing challenges how we can finance this energy transition. All of this have kept me thinking and dreaming. And I join with many of my colleagues globally, where I lead teams as well, to really find some answers, ways that how can we work together to solve some of this problem. Let me take one of them. During G20's presidency in India, for instance, it was a great event, great occasion for India to really come to the world stage and organize such a very successful event. I joined with other G20 countries, researchers from Saudi Arabia, from Japan, I believe, obviously India, Australia. They all are G20 members. At that time, we produced a very good working paper published in India during that time, that how we can help access the funding for this energy transition, which is very important. And these are policy papers that will be read by ministers and high-level policymakers. That's something I really like to do. I have many books, but this is sort of the thing I get more satisfaction that can make and influence changes in their policy. We did similarly for G20 Italy, where I contributed a couple of other papers with colleagues from other G20 countries like Italy and Japan, and also India. And then we thought how, say, for instance, small business can thrive or can regain its regain its during and especially after the COVID-19. For instance, COVID has impacted most businesses, but impacted small businesses disproportionately because they're very small. They were impacted the most.
Great. So a quick pause before we go deeper. This is for our viewers. If you're enjoying this conversation, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the Tracxn YouTube channel. We have got more interviews like this with incredible professors and innovation leaders. And trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next. All right, Professor Tapan, let's get into the startup side of things, right? So you've seen both the worlds, academics and industry. What are some startup or sustainability trends that you think students should be watching closely?
Well, I like a lot of stories, and I worked in this sector and third sector, helping businesses in Japan, in India, and Australia. So these three countries. I give an example that when I wrote a case study on Selco. Selco is very known in India, and it's really empowering solar energy for the rural people in Karnataka and in India, in the rural part. These are real, small entrepreneurship that makes a big difference, and that really encourages me to really, to really see the power of small things. We did many other case studies as well for big corporations and so on. Other big business that I worked with in India, for instance, is Mahindra and Mahindra India Limited, where we looked into their CSR. And that CSR, that's the framework, firstly, because following that work, we know that in India, for instance, they enacted CSR mandatorily through the Corporation Act. But before that, our work really helped big corporations who have presence globally. For instance, Mahindra, it's like a multinational now, to really help understand what is needed to expand a company globally, what's the expectation. And I and our other colleagues from South Korea, from India, we produced a collection of case studies for big corporations as well as mid-level corporations. And that sort of collections helped business leaders, business managers at various levels to understand what is needed to become sustainable for a longer time. Sustainability is something that need to sustain for over a period of time and eternity. And also there is a concept of that we need to be also looking into this through an intergenerational lens. It's not like a periodic sort of aspect that what we see in purely in economics, that annual growth. We need to see a bit of intergenerational growth rather than just short term. So coming to this point that the political cycle works, to be frank, at this moment is more short-termism, because their main intention at this moment is to get win back or let's say re-elected. But for us in a business, we really need to continue this for a very, very long time, if not forever. And that's why a very long-term perspective is needed, at least for businesses. And we work very closely with business that how they can do that.
Very interesting. Talking about sustainability itself, right? So you have done a lot of work around sustainability and finance. Say, for example, a student came to you with a climate tech startup idea. How would you help them figure out the funding or policy side of the things? Where should they even start?
The start is always doing good amount of research on a particular area, particular subject. So, for instance, if a student is looking into financing aspect of, say, climate finance and taking into an example of, for instance, a project for a company to really transition from fossil fuel reliance into more, say, solar energy, for instance. So how we ask them to look into is that, okay, I know that initially in the short term, there will be need for finance, there will be costly. Why don't you do a, a long-term sort of analysis that what is the rate of return and when you can get the whole money back, and then after that you will enjoy the dividend, which is you don't have to pay anything. In the meanwhile, the initial period, how you can access this fund and what are the various banks or institutions can provide you funding at what sort of rates. And frankly speaking, banks and financial institutions are now providing some incentives and some reduced interest rate for this sort of project. So we do have, because they also want to be seen as a good corporate citizen. Okay, so we like to show them, our students, that say, why don't you do a comparative study of various sources of finance for an XYZ project and try to show them that this project is not just making a positive cash flow over a period of time, say 5 to 10 years, but also throughout this process it is saving, say, X amount of CO2 emission and also making some social impact as well.
Great. And related to that itself, you have talked about how only about 7% of the bank lending goes to renewable energy, right? That's very tiny. So what makes a startup bankable to traditional finance? So as a founder, what should I focus on?
See, as I said, banks and financial institutions are also transitioning, but it is taking a bit more time than we expected, but it is in the right direction for sure, because it is always, in most of the cases, they are private banks, right? And we all know a private business is a private business. They cannot give away money. They have to make profit out of it. Now, what we need in this sort of framework to do is clear guidance from the regulatory perspective. For instance, the government at various levels, that what they can do, how they can help them to in the case of any default or in the case of any problems in the future, because their liquidity, their funding is contingent upon continuous growth. At the same time, that this regulatory framework is important for startups as well. So what is needed for them to manage some funding they obtain from banks and financial institutions. So this is very much. Second aspect is the capacity, which is the knowledge. So even if we have a very good regulatory setting, if we do not have the knowledge, it is really counterproductive. So we need to align this both together to really achieve this goal.
Very interesting. So let's zoom out a bit, right? So if you had a chance to design a university startup incubator from the scratch, right? So what would be the must-haves? And what do you think a lot of programs are still missing now?
I know this is a bit of, by the way, lately it is happening globally, a lot happening in India. I have some friends in IIT Kharagpur. I know they have a very good sort of initiative in this regard. I work closely with them as well and other universities globally. At least it is, I should say, better late than never. Some of the things that are now impacting or playing a role in this are obviously, that our education system, which is pretty prescriptive rather than focusing on innovative things. And we need to change, and this is happening because what if we produce graduates with a lot of certificates, but they don't have the capability to think differently and trying to be more innovative, right? And this is a new challenge, but good news is yes that that universities are now thinking this even that way. So
Great.
to answer this to directly to your question, I think that our educational system need to change, and we need to think differently that well, what is our end goal of being a university? What is our end goal of being an educational institution? Is this that to become financially viable? I don't think that's not the only thing that we can think. Rather, we need to think in a way that, okay, the graduates you produce, uh, how much they are doing for the society, and instead of getting placements, why don't they become an entrepreneur and self-entrepreneur by themselves?
Very true. Very true. So you have worked in so many countries, right? From Bangladesh to Japan to Australia. Does the startup energy feel different in different places? Or is it always the same chaos and coffee?
It does. Startup is obviously startup. It changes. But I use a lot of case studies in my own teaching as well of good, bad, and ugly aspects of startups and businesses as well. Some worked very well and some did not work very well. Some worked very well in the beginning and then it broke. And one of the things that I gave example of this is that, and that I noticed almost everywhere in Japan, in Australia, and in other jurisdictions which are a little bit more developing countries, including in Indonesia, where I have a lot of presence, is that when businesses, entrepreneurs, even startups, their ethical aspects are not very clear and not aligned with their goals, we see those that fail in their long-term goals and they cannot achieve goals over the time. So that's a defining thing, and it's common to all jurisdictions.
Understood. So on the flip side, right, when things do move, they can move big, right? So you have led some great research funded by DFAT about renewable energy partnerships, especially I think between countries like Australia and Saudi Arabia. Do you think students or university incubators can play a role, in making those kinds of collaborations real?
Yes, there can. Whatever we learn from these collaborations, we feed into our students, and that's the whole point. We don't want to keep this benefit and lessons only within us as the project personnel. We disseminate this to them through workshops, through seminars, and also through our cases that we use for them. And our experience shows that there are challenges in our collaborations as well, in the way we collaborate on various aspects, including the one we used and I led with Saudi Arabia, for instance, because we need to look into the political lens as well, that some countries, these are more transparent than other countries. So we face challenges throughout, and we try to help our students to understand these issues in a more political economy lens as well.
Great. So looking ahead, what do you see changing over the next 5 years and how universities support startups and innovation?
I think that there should be a fair bit of flexibility in terms of what students want to do. We cannot impose them that, okay, these are the 5 things and you need to choose a theme to become, to propose something. There should be a category called others, and with those who are coming out and we know are successful entrepreneur, they are many times, we all know them, they are actually college dropouts maybe, and they don't care about this because they care about something. And we really need to be very open rather than, let's say, in a more inductive rather than deductive. So we need to open up and encourage them to do whatever they want.
Great. So, and finally, right, so you would have done this many a times. For students or first-time founders just starting out, what's one simple piece of advice you would give them?
I mentioned a bit, but I will reiterate what I have done in my whole career. We need to be very ethical what you do. There is no shortcut to achieve something, be it a soccer player, be it a cricketer, be it a professor, be it an entrepreneur, or be it a good interviewer. You just need to be very ethical, very honest of what you do. And you need to be yourself. You don't need to do something extraordinarily from others. You just try to explore your talent, try to explore your ability, because it is something that I believe that everyone has the ability to grow. Everyone has absolute ability to do whatever they like.
Very inspiring. So before we end, if anyone wants to follow your work or dig into your research, where should they go? Any projects or papers you would like to shout out?
Well, for us, we do maintain a strong presence on the LinkedIn because we are professionals, and this is the best social media site that we maintain. But also Google Scholar provides all of our work, and all my books are on Amazon.com. There are 5 books mostly on sustainability, sustainable growth, sustainable enterprise, I think there are many ways now you can learn about my work. And my most recent book was about financing for SDGs. This is really something that is sort of inspiring me, because we have a big challenge now to really access finance for instance, poverty, eradicating poverty or hunger, or enhancing equality, gender equality, and obviously climate finance. And we discussed this at length. It is important that we continue our work, and I would be very happy to be accessed by anybody.
Great. That's it. So from climate finance to student startups, Professor Tapan Sarkar showed us how real impact happens when policy meets the purpose, and then students step up, right? So a big thank you to Professor Sarkar for sharing his time, wisdom, and energy with us. So if this chat lit up a spark, go ahead and drop a comment, and even send it to that one friend who's always pitching ideas. And hey, don't just lurk, subscribe, hit the bell icon, and stick around. We have got more smart humans and startup stories coming your way right here on Tracxn.